hello, and welcome back to another episode of To Whom It May Concern. I'm your host, Malak, here with my co-hosts, Khawaila, Inara, and Mariam.
Hey, Assalamu alaikum.
So, with the new academic year approaching, and us all kind of being in higher education or past higher education, what do you guys think of our college system? Like, was undergrad actually necessary? Like, was it essential to where you've gotten to now?
So the way our education system works is you can't do the next step without the previous one, right? So in order to get into college, you need high school. In order to get into the graduate school to actually work in the profession you want, you have to do undergrad. Yeah. So it's necessary in that sort of, because it's a stepwise system. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to is it actually necessary to do the job you want to do? No, not at all.
Society makes it a stepwise system so it can become a money-making industry. Mm-hmm. Let's be real. That's literally what it is.
I mean, yeah, undergrad is pretty expensive. And
yeah. They say the education system in America is probably has a larger money flow income than banks do. It's like a bank, our education system.
And if you think of it, it's not even just paying for tuition. It's also paying for the books and then the extra stuff that comes with, especially the standardized exams, like studying for the ACT, studying for the MCAT, for boards. There's so many books and programs and classes that we pay for extra just to get those scores that we want.
Yeah. And how about students that move out and pay living costs or gas to back and forth and food? And it costs a lot to be a student in America.
Well, I got my bachelor's in chemistry, knowing I wanted to go into medicine. Was it what is it really for? Sure, it was good learning, I guess, in the experience of college and university, but in order to practice medicine, I did not really need that.
Yeah.
I think what the question really is we look at this degree, not necessarily even if it teaches us something or not. It's more looked at other people will find us hireable if we have this degree. So it's more like we see it as an insurance policy. So I'll get this education, I'll get this degree, and then at the end of the day, I'll have a job that pays me a really good income. And we don't think at least I didn't when I was younger, about the fact that, okay, loan means you have to pay it back eventually, and the fact that the interests start piling up. It's not what you started with. So yeah, you may have took 10 grand out now, but at the end you're going to pay triple that, quadruple that. So not only are you in debt, but you have this pressure to be successful because you have to pay all this money back.
In addition to that, what I wanted to say was so I got my bachelor's, but my current job doesn't, what I learned in undergrad is not at all to what I do. But in order to get hired, I needed to say I've gotten a bachelor's degree.
What did you get your bachelor's in?
Bachelor's in psychology.
And what are you working as now?
I'm a research associate, so I do research. But not even, it's in science. My research is in cancer. It's not even in psychology. So it's interesting that you just had to put, oh yeah, I have a bachelor's degree. And I have no research experience prior either. So subhanAllah, alhamdulillah. But sometimes it's just, yeah, you qualify because you have a bachelor's degree. It doesn't matter what exactly it's in.
And you're great at your job. You've been there for years.
Yeah, I've been there for 5 years.
But honestly, I don't even think that pertains to an undergraduate degree anymore. Maybe that was necessary 10 years ago. Maybe having a bachelor's degree was a big deal and it secured you a good profession. But these days, having your bachelor's degree is a dime a dozen. Everyone has a bachelor's degree. It doesn't even secure you a good job.
Yeah, now you need a master's to get something better.
Yeah, exactly. So now you have all those student loans, and the professions that you're able to apply for that you may get are very limited.
My student advisor, when I was back in high school, actually told me, she's for undergrad, it's not worth taking loans. She's if you need to take loans, save that for grad school. But she's for undergrad, the way you should pick where you want to go is whatever's the cheapest that you can afford.
Yeah, as long as it's accredited. And I always advise, like, if it's too expensive and you have to pull out loans, go to community college. There's nothing wrong with that. You could always transfer out after you do your gen eds of 2 years and then go into the college or the university you need to save that money. Because at the end of the day, you'll still get that bachelor's degree. You'll still get that career that you want. It's okay to do a community college, even though there's like sometimes negative connotations to individuals that do that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny because it's more like these schools will make more money in the education system based off its exclusivity. So it's not like we're promoting education for all, because the more people that they get the education, the less it's worth. Like Medak was saying, more people are getting bachelors, and now our investment that we made isn't even worth it in the first place unless we decide, okay, now I'm going to go get my doctorate, because it's harder for everybody to go get their doctorate. So it's like, what are you running, like a club at this point? Not even an education system.
I mean, it makes sense in general. Like, that if everyone has the same thing, then how are you going to start differentiating people?
Yeah, but then it takes away from the education within itself.
Yeah.
So we're not teaching so people could learn.
That's very true. You're teaching just to get that grade or just to get a score so that you can look better.
But really thinking about my undergrad education, like, let's really think about it. How many classes did you have to pay for and sit through and waste your most valuable thing that you hold in life, which is your time, on classes that were completely useless? Like,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I was a biology major and I wanted to go to medical school at the time because, we was confused. But, like, literally, they made me take environmental classes. They made me take animal anatomy, which were hard classes for no reason.
Here's the thing, though. Like, if you were in charge of creating a curriculum and being like, okay, how am I gonna make this person be like, okay, now you get a bachelor's in biology. Biology isn't just the human, but biology isn't just the human body. It's all life, including the environment, including the organisms and plants and animals.
I agree, but you act like there was another decision I could have taken. It was either biology or chemistry. They didn't offer a specific thing. Like, why do they even need to have specifics? Why can't I create my own customized course curriculum? Yeah.
Then how are you going to earn that degree in a specific subject?
What would you graduate in?
I'm saying, if you're going to offer things, then you need to be more widespread in what you offer. Why can't there be a medical school track classes, period?
No, there are, like, if you search your medical schools or your dental schools ahead of time, there are a list of classes that you have to take, but it's not sufficient enough. The credit hours aren't enough for you to graduate. And that just goes back to our whole, why do we have to do 4 years of graduate? We know that a lot of other countries, especially us being Arab, we know, like, in Palestine, in Jordan, in Lebanon, in Syria, that they don't even require an undergraduate degree. You literally have high school into graduate school, so straight into med school or dental school or engineering, whatever you decide to do. So the real problem is, why do we need an undergraduate degree?
Mm-hmm. Like, I feel like our undergraduate should be our high school curriculum, and by the time we graduate, we should be ready to choose the field that we want to focus in and specialize.
I completely agree. What we learn in undergrad should be learned in high school. But then that goes back to what Medim was saying, how we're too young to make these decisions. Then we'd be even younger, because college is basically a buffer zone for anyone to kind of go in, experience whatever they want to experience, and then choose what they want to do.
Yeah, but I disagree with that. I don't think we're too young at that point. I don't think you need to always pick right off the bat what you need to do, because it's like, when will you know? You have people who are in college 4 years still switching around. Like, when will you know? So, and that's the job of the high school to, give you different classes, variation as to what you like. I think there should be a lot more hands-on, more field placements, like people are actually outside. So I think it goes back to our high school system that needs to be better, like that needs to be better implemented when it comes to, like, actually getting exposure out there. And that will help with the graduate.
I don't necessarily agree with that, because I do think that you're kind of young when you're graduating high school. Like, I think they're having that buffer area, or going to college and learning that independence and, like, being on your own and studying the higher classes is a good idea. I just think 4 years is way too long to be doing it. Like, I think you can easily graduate with a bachelor's degree in science in 2 years. Like, if we focus on the classes you actually need to take for the profession you wanted, we'd be done in like 2 years and a year and a half.
Right, like skip the gen eds.
Yeah, I think it's good because it forces an individual to become more independent. Like college is way different than high school. You know,
Well, I don't have to wait till we're in college. Like, you're already 18 years old. I feel like responsibility like needs to be taken place in.
No, I'm sorry. You are way too young to
yeah,
We're not, but that's the thing.
at
Like,
16 with what you're gonna do for the rest of your life.
no,
I'm
not
all
saying,
for. No.
I'm not saying you should be 16 and you should know exactly what you want in life, but I'm saying that like independency, that responsibility should be taught in high school too. Like we have that ability and capability to do it. Like, احنا مدلعين.
it is.
No.
I think independence is taught before even high school, but it's completely different when you go from a class of like, okay, for us, for example, for me, I graduated from Universal. It's much different from going from a class of 25 girls to a class of a few hundred students, for example.
It's not even that. Even the students that went to public school with hundreds of people in their class, it's a very different vibe from going from high school to undergrad.
Yeah.
No, it's a different vibe for one reason alone. When you're done with high school, you need to face the reality that nobody cares about you in the world, to be honest. Like, you have to put in the effort. Nobody's going to care like, oh, I'm so tired. Well, too bad. You have a test today. Or, oh, I don't get to hang out with my friends. Or, this teacher already assigned a test. Can you please push the lab practical back? No, nobody's going to care. So you have to sit and you have to focus on your work. And my whole thing with use the 4 years to discover what you want to do, I'm all for that if it wasn't so expensive to do so. So it's not free to like, oh, let me take this class. No, this class is worth $2,000 per credit to discover what you want to do. It's not worth it. It's not worth it to a lot of people. And I think it's not fair that we judge these people if they can't afford it, that they're not going to be successful, or that they should be viewed as less because they don't want to go to college or they don't choose that. Or we view them as lazy.
It's not necessarily judgment, but on the flip side, like if someone did put in all the effort and took all those courses, I feel like they should be regarded on a higher standard.
But it takes a lot of work too to not go to college too, because you have to work a lot of jobs, you have to put in a lot of hours, and you have to put in a lot of effort as well. Like, both decisions take a lot of work. With working, if you don't go to school, you're gonna take up a job.
Okay, but like you learning, like Khuwaila going into med school, knowing all that she knows, versus someone else that just worked 3 jobs, maybe that had nothing to do with medicine, but also want to pursue medicine, is not the same playing field. They're not
How
the
would
same.
they pursue medicine though? They're not trying to pursue medicine.
Okay, but you're saying it shouldn't be so expensive, and people should be regarded the same whether they go to school or not.
Yeah, they should. I don't think people should look at Khuwaila or me or any of us for all that matter and say that we are more hardworking or we're more successful just because we decided to do a college education and a college track.
I don't think it's hardworking, and
no, it's 100%.
No, I meant to say I don't think it's a matter of saying one worked harder, but I do think there's a difference between those two people, 100%. And that's not necessarily just to say that the person working is at a deficit. The person that just went to school and has no experience is also at a deficit, but they're completely different applicants, and they're completely different prepared for what they want to pursue.
Exactly, but I'm saying we shouldn't judge them based off what they want to pursue. Like, I don't expect somebody who chooses to run a business to want to go and be a doctor and then hire them.
And obviously not everyone should pursue the same thing, like whether it's educational or just learning some sort of skill and working in that skill, that's fine. But you do have to acknowledge that society does treat people differently based on their education level.
Yeah, because it opens more doors when you do have your education, 100%.
And I agree with Maryam that you shouldn't be judgy and you shouldn't think less of people who decide not to get an education. Then do you have an issue because of all the work and effort it is to become a surgeon? You have an issue with people looking up to them more than, let's say, someone who's not a surgeon?
Yeah, I do. I don't like when anybody looks up to anybody. I think not that anybody looks at it. No, I don't like the whole sense that we degrade another person's work just because we think the value of another person's work is worth more.
So is it that you're degrading one or you're just uplifting another one?
Either way, one is seen lesser than the other, and I just don't agree with that.
You do acknowledge some studies and tracks do require more time and effort and more skill. Like, there are differences. There's a difference somebody who's
Everything in life
surgery.
requires effort.
I'm not
Of course.
saying the other person is less than. There is a certain skill set and education level. There are those differences.
But I wouldn't even compare a dentist and a surgeon, and I want to do dentistry. And I know that it requires more. It's not about degrading another profession.
Yeah.
It's just recognizing that
It is what it is. Like you just got,
some people
But I don't
want
think
to
you treat anybody differently, like, or you're better than. But you do have to acknowledge someone's title. They did work for it. It is like you. It does require knowledge, a lot of skill.
have lives in their hands. Like that's very important.
Okay, so do people who drive a car have a life in their hand? So do people who drive trains. Literally, if they don't do their job to an exact T, so do engineers. So do so many jobs, and so many people put in so much work and effort. So the fact that we just look at it, oh, this is higher, they have to work harder for it. No, everybody in life works harder.
It's all about status.
I don't think
It goes
so.
back to your status.
It's because those people make more money that we think that, oh, that makes more money, so it should be looked at as higher.
Do you think people who go get an education should get paid more?
Okay, you guys are throwing me with communists right now, but yeah, no. If you have more experience, I think you should get paid more.
No.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. So you don't think so I go through med school and then I have no experience, and then we go through residency. I have 3 years of experience, and then I start working as a doctor. So I've had 4 and 4 and then 3. So 8 and then 3 is 11, right? So 11 years of education /
But
training.
not experience.
3 of those years would be 3 to 5 would be I would consider experience. So then all of that, do you think people would go through all of that schooling and education and training if they didn't get paid well after?
If you loved it, sure. And honestly,
especially when it comes to surgery, you know how much work it takes to be a surgeon.
No, I do think people would still go into it. I think it would be less people because
Much less.
there's still a lot of master's degree.
okay, guess what, Juela? Then a lot of people won't make as many mistakes.
That's not true. If anything, we already don't have enough doctors in the country. So if the little we have, they'd be overworked, more mistakes would happen.
No, I don't want it to be less.
But
And
even in communist countries, like doctors are still seen higher. Like they get paid the same, but you still regard a doctor higher because they're doctors. They're what they do is very important. And it's not to say that what everyone else does isn't important. Everyone plays a role in society and keeps the world going round. 100%.
Do you have an issue with like a business person that's a multimillionaire because they worked hard for their money?
what do you mean? Like
So,
them being regarded as better than another person?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a problem with that.
Okay, not being regarded as better. Because obviously no one should be better or quote unquote like be thought as better, but just to be regarded with such a high status and then to be getting paid that much money or earning that much money.
I don't care what people earn. You earn whatever you earn. I'm saying that I think people connect the ideas that if you earn more money, you should be looked at with a higher esteem because you worked harder to get that. When that could be, in fact, not the truth.
But that's not what we were talking about. That wasn't the conversation.
No, it stemmed into this,
but we were
back to education.
But we were just bringing it to the fact that, like, education versus experience. Like,
I think you need both. You need to start with.
Yeah, I think you need both. I don't think one is more important than the other. But if
I think experience is more important than the classroom education, but it still needs to be prefaced with it.
No, because sometimes experience is that, like, okay, me going to my job every day 9 to 5, that's my experience. But a lot of times you just fall into the same routine. Like, without my education, there could be a million things that I've never encountered that I would never know how to encounter based just on my experience.
Or a lot of times.
Well, if you never encountered it in your work, do you need to know it?
What?
If you never encountered it in your work and you worked from 9 to 5 all these years and you've never encountered it, do you need to know it?
Yeah, because if I'm trying to get somewhere else, if my job is just a stepping stone to somewhere else, then yeah, there will be other things that I encounter. Okay, so what do you guys think of when you have to take gen ed classes in college?
I think gen ed should be under like high school stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like I think it is necessary. Like we should learn it. I mean, but what are we learning really with calculus integrals? Like what?
Physics. I don't
Yeah.
know.
I never took a physics class.
Oh, I loved physics.
I never took a physics class and I'm doing fine. Nothing related to my field at all.
But how about Inara, as a psych major, did you ever have to take like a bio class?
Yeah, that's a gen ed. You have to take a bio, you have to take a chem. Yeah, and that's how I knew for sure I didn't want to do science. I'm like, thank God I'm a psych major. Ooh. Yeah.
I mean, but they make psych and sociology and history, like those are also stuff that I had to take.
Yeah.
As a
And I was a chem major. So it's like they try to make it broad where you take a little bit of everything, but then the major that you want, you have to take those specific classes.
I kind of don't mind that a little though, because I feel like it gives you, like it makes you more of a well-rounded student. Like imagine if all your classes were strictly science-based.
Yeah, I don't think that's smart.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, it's not even about the classroom experience when it comes to college. I think what I like about also college is that the overall experience of meeting new people, different types of people. I feel like you are much more accepting in college.
You meet new people if you just go out and live your life.
I know, Maria, but still, like,
like that's such a college selling point.
no, it's the truth. Like people that go to college versus people that stay in their own little niche and around the same people they've always been around. They're two different types of experiences.
But see, why is that mentality that if you don't go to college, you can't go out, go to another country,
I'm
go
not
live there,
saying
go
you
do
can't.
whatever you want?
But what's the likelihood of that happening?
It's high actually right now. A lot of people are electing not to go to college.
I'm not talking.
But I think that has to do more with the cost of college rather than being upset about the.
And if they can't afford college, how are they going to travel around the world and experience different types of people?
Oh no, it is a lot cheaper than college actually.
There's so even that people that can't afford.
But yeah,
it,
there was a man actually that I was speaking to, and he was saying that he didn't go to college because he wanted to be a Spanish major. He wanted to learn Spanish, right? He instead decided to go to a Spanish-speaking country and live there. It cost for 4 years. It costed him about $5,000 to go do that, rather than how much is it 4 years of college?
Yeah, like.
Okay, Mariam, that's that one guy, which is cool. That's fine. I'm sure he now is a perfect.
But that's what I'm saying. I feel like we're married to this idea.
What's the likelihood of that happening? More people would probably go to college than live in a Spanish-speaking country.
Because that is what we are taught to do.
No, because
like we're taught that this is what you do. You go to high school, you go to college.
Do you think living abroad for 4 years is a better way?
Or easier?
No,
for him, yeah, absolutely. But my issue comes, the system becomes an issue because then he comes back here, he wants to get hired
That's not true.
A Spanish education or a bachelor's, he's more likely to get hired than someone who has no education. No. He
has a 6-figure job.
Good.
Because they love the fact that he has experience, he could talk, he knows what he's doing.
I just think it's not realistic for people to up and leave their families and everything.
Yeah, he's definitely an exception.
That's like a Spanish major. How about an accountant? What are they going to do?
I'm not saying college isn't important and essential for some people.
That's what
I'm just saying the people that don't elect to do it still have very valuable knowledge that they learn and grow with.
Nobody says that you're not smart because you don't go to college.
But that's what society says. They say you're lazy.
Actually, I think
they do.
So many people of so many individuals that we hold with respect and with high regards didn't even go to school. Like Steve Jobs didn't go to school. Bill Gates
is rich and famous.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking about like your neighbor. If your neighbor didn't go to school and they weren't.
Okay, forget neighbor. A guy that asks for you that owns a business or doesn't have a master's degree, are you gonna give him a chance?
Like job security. Like someone that comes to you that may own a business isn't secure. That can literally take at any time. Versus someone that comes to you and tells you, hey, I have my bachelor's in accounting or something. At least you know this person will always find a job. Yes, there's a significant difference. Yes,
that's not the case. There are people with law degrees that can't have job security and insured jobs depending on what we're doing.
What's the likelihood of a lawyer not finding a job versus a business tanking?
the same probably chance. What's this is yeah.
Crazy.
So
Yeah,
I feel like we have. Do you know how many entrepreneurs that we have that are doing amazing?
I'm not
so
saying
how
they
many
can't
are
go-
failing?
Yeah, and then how many have the opportunity to take that and flip it and try to keep growing?
Okay, but what's the ratio of success to failures,
You
man?
guys, it's riskier. It for sure is riskier, and usually the riskier something is, the either the harder the fall or the more beneficial or the more whatever, like the more benefits they have from it.
By the way, that's not to say that I think a college education is useless, because I don't. I think it just should be free.
I agree.
And-
I think
and that's all.
education should be free.
Yeah, I don't mind education being free. I'm just saying it's important. Like we do need some time in college. I just think our system is a little skewed and not right. Like I think we have a lot that we need to correct in our foundation of education in America, but I do think we need it to a certain extent.
I think with the price point that it's come to, that it's not worth the investment for a lot of people.
Oh, I agree.
And it's so funny because nobody even questions when colleges go up in prices anymore. It's like, oh yeah, 5,000 added next year, let's do it.
But I actually like this would actually be a conversation that I've had with like peers also in undergraduate. Like a lot of people actually are more concerned with the payment than you think. You know, like
No,
like
it
people
is.
do notice when money goes up and stuff like that.
And
It is
here's the thing: everything gets more expensive with every year.
cost of living.
Like the cost of like all the taxes that these universities, I don't know if even if you know if they pay, but whatever, like all the expenses that the universities have to pay in the bills and stuff does get more expensive.
Mm-hmm.
And money depreciates over time. So $1 now is not going to be the same as $1 in 10 years.
Yeah.
So like that's why it does get more expensive.
No, but I do.
That's one of the
When I
reasons
went
why.
to an undergrad that agreed when I signed in to join that university, I think that should be consistent throughout the 4 years.
Like your grandfathered into that.
Again, it doesn't.
So
The
what
dollar
you
doesn't
pay your first semester.
within a year.
So
What
what
is
you pay your first semester, you pay every year.
What I'm saying is like the $20,000. Let's say that's how much I paid for the year. It should be consistently throughout my 4 years. It shouldn't change.
They should raise the price
That's what I'm telling you.
for the incoming freshman class is what
But
she's saying.
20,000,
Yeah, like not what
your first year is not the same as 20,000 your second year, and your especially the fourth year. That's what I'm trying to say. Like the money, the value of money changes, which is why it's more expensive. I'm sure they also like add extra money.
Yeah,
that
I don't think it changes
don't think
that
it's that
drastically within the 4 years, and I don't think it'd do them much harm if we were consistent. Like, not unless we were going through some economic crisis, then I would understand. But
oh,
That's
it's
what-
an economic
that's-
crisis, girl.
That's what some universities and schools were doing during this COVID thing. Like instead of giving money back or something, they're just like, okay, we won't increase tuition next year.
But
Like
that's because of what's going on now.
Yeah, but I'm saying even for students that were finishing this year, like it didn't do anything for them.
Yeah.
Okay, you're not gonna increase. That's great for everybody else.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's hard because like I don't know what they're experiencing from their side. It's different because I think I would feel less bad about how expensive it was if the professors were the ones getting the money versus it's the president and the people and like the board members that are the really rich ones. And then you have like at UIC, which is a public university, you have their professors like protesting and going on strike because they don't have good pay. So I think if our money was being utilized in a better way, then I wouldn't mind as much.
And maybe also if we saw the money being pumped back into the school. University shouldn't have carpeted classrooms
Ew,
anymore.
that's so nasty.
And it's so musty. Like
Yeah.
imagine the heat. Like you just shouldn't have carpet in colleges and universities.
Whoa.
I'm sorry.
I hope they don't have mold on this thing.
Well,
probably
I'm
do.
done.
So looking back, do you think you guys would have done your college education the same exact way you did it?
I would have still attended a 4-year university. I might have done things a little differently, but I still would have done a 4-year university.
I don't think I would have changed. Thankfully, I did it in 3 years. I was able to take enough APs in high school that it knocked off a year.
I think for me, I probably would have chose a different major in my undergrad, one that I could get a good paying job right off the bat. And I feel like a lot of times a lot of bachelor's degrees that are you can earn doesn't pay you well afterwards. Like you need to continue your education, like biology, chemistry. Those don't make money. Psychology, sociology.
Get a job.
Not unless you're doing nursing. Not unless you're doing accounting, civil engineering, some type of engineering, computer science. That. So I would go back and maybe do more of a focused actual career before. Like that would be my change. And of course, if I had the choice to skip undergrad and just jump into my master's degree, that'd be great.
How about you, Mariam?
I think I would have done it a lot differently. First of all, I think when I left high school, I think I undervalued what a community college experience would have given me. And because just when you have this thought in the back of your head, you're like, oh, I'm going to be looked at as less than if I'm a transfer, if I go to a community college. No, that would have saved me a lot of money. That would have...
Transferring, also, you have to keep in mind, a lot of times when you transfer to a university, they don't want to take a lot of the classes so you can stay there longer. It happens so many times.
It does. And that's why, though, you can only get these things in hindsight. Because now I know how do I check exactly what classes transfer. How do I fight those things? And it's only now that I know that. And that's how I helped my siblings do the same thing. But looking back, no one offered that information up regularly. Like I had to look up exactly what classes transfer from this school to ensure that they can't play around with it.
No, honestly, I think you should only do a 2-year college if you don't have a good enough scholarship for the 4 years. I think transferring should only be if you have...
No scholarship is good enough if you need money, no.
I mean, no. Some people can get a pretty good scholarship, and then if you can just stay there all 4 years, then that's so much better than transferring. Because regardless of how good you look up, if they say one thing, yeah, we'll accept these credits, they always try to keep you there for at least 3 years. I feel like they
what may end up happening is your undergrad takes it, and then when you apply for graduate schools, they don't want community college.
That's not true. They do accept it. They do accept it.
I literally applied to schools that said you can
look at it differently though, but they will accept it. What did you say, Madak? Sorry.
No, I was saying I've literally applied to dental schools that said we don't accept classes that aren't from universities.
And that's junk.
Okay.
It's the same exact education.
But I'm saying it can happen. That's all.
No, I've never been told that before, but I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't the majority of schools. There were just a few that if you read the requirements and stuff, they do say we don't require this class.
Yeah. I've had we're accepted as credit hours, but you still need to do our biology class or something like that.
Yeah.
Like take it in as a credit. Let's say you'll fulfill an elective, but you still need to take our biology that we offer in our school.
But again, that goes back to it being money making, not education building.
Longer. Yeah, 100%.
But I would have done it 100%. I would have done 2 years, and then maybe I would have been able to take the time to realize that. Actually, no, I probably still would have done biology. Anyway, sometimes I'm not regretful for the mistakes I make that led me to where I am today.
Oh.
Right? And I learned a lot from my biology degree, so we're not mad at it. Maybe we're a little mad at it because it costs a lot of money and and I didn't do it. But it's okay. We live and we learn. Don't tell my dad that. My dad's going to be like, oh, yeah, you lived and you learned? Really?
Like, oh, I'm the one that paid for your learning.
For your mistakes. Well, whether you agree that education is important or experience is more important, the bottom line is majority of us go to school because, like Mariam said, we do want to get to higher education and we do want to pursue higher level careers. And in the country that we live in, unfortunately, that does require you to do extensive schooling, regardless of how you may feel about it. But thank you so much for tuning in to yet another episode of To Whom It May Concern. We hope you enjoyed this debate as much as we enjoyed having it. If you don't already, you need to subscribe to our channel so you are always notified when we drop our newest content. Make sure to like our video and other videos if you didn't already. You can follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at The Modern Skeps. And if you ever have any topic ideas you'd like us to discuss, you can email us at themodernskeptics@gmail.com. Sincerely, The Modern Skeptics. P.S. Education is not only found in books.